Okay, good evening. My name is Diane Padilla, and I'm doing my presentation on my bone video on axial skeleton. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and begin with my cranial bones. And I'm going to turn my cranial bone this way. And this is the frontal bone, the parietal bones. I'm going to flip this around this way. And this is the occipital bone. Right here in the back, we have a protuberance, which is the external occipital protuberance. This bone is for the attachment of the ligamente nuchae, which assists in supporting the head. Then we go to temporal external view. The temporal mandibular joint is this one here that you see in wiggle where the joint pivots. The mastoid process, which is this section right here, this point. The styloid process, which is right underneath here. I don't know if you could see that. And the external acoustic meatus, this little indentation right here, and the inside and the squamous part, which is this section right here. Then we move over to the temporal internal view. So I'm going to go ahead and take off my head here, and we're going to go ahead and speak of the petrous part of the temporal bone, and that would be this section right here. This performs the function of joining the parietal bone alongside of the squamosal suture. The structures that are housed within this part of the temporal bone are the internal ear structures. The internal acoustic meatus, this section right here is, I went ahead and put a little blue line there. I don't know if you can see it right over here, just so you can see the area. That's where the nerves pass through the openings. Then we move over to the sphenoid, the external view, the superior orbital fissure, which is in this section right here. Let's see, where did I miss? Right in here. I don't know, there, right in there. And 7 nerves pass through this opening. It's a little point there, I don't know if you could see it. They're the lacrimal, the frontal, the trochlear, the superior division of the ocular motor, the abducens, the nasociliary, and the inferior division of the oculomotor nerve. Then we move into the internal view of the sphenoid. We have the lesser wing. Let's see if I could. The lesser wing, the greater wing, and then we have the body, which is right in the center, and then the superior orbital fissure, which is that little area that I mentioned prior. The occipital canal, which is this little dot here. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little dot right there. That is where the optic nerve and the ophthalmic artery run through this canal. The sala tunica, which is right in this section right here in the middle. This is where the pituitary gland sits in this saddle-shaped depression. The ethmoid internal view, the crista gallia, also known as the crest of the rock, which is the line right here, right in the center. And on either side, that's where the olfactory bulbs would sit, and that is the site of smell. The cribriform plate, the foramina, the nerves pass through the holes, which is right in this section right here, and right in that section there, right in these sections. And then we go ahead and move on to the sutures. I'm going to go ahead and put this guy back together. Back here. Okay, so we have the coronal sutures, which are these that run across here, and those are between the frontal and the parietal bones. The sagittal run between the parietal bones, which is right back here. We have the lambdoid, between the occipital and the parietal bones, right in here. And then we have the squamous, which is this one here. And that runs between the temporal and the mastoid process. Then we move to the facial bones. The maxilla and alveolar process would be right in this section right here. The zygomatic bone is this section here, and the nasal bone is here. The zygomatic bone is formed by the temporal and jaw bones. The bones that form the bony nasal septum are the perpendicular plate of ethmoid and vomer bone, and the inferior nasal concha, its function is to warm, moisten, and filter the air and also help direct the airflow. And then we're going to go ahead and discuss the mandible. So I'm going to try to make this as easy as possible. So we're going to go ahead and start with the ramus, the angle, and the body, which is this section all right here. The body. And then we're going to open this up just so we get the rest of it done. And this section right here is a condylar. This section here is the notch, and this is the coronoid process. So then we're going to go ahead and move over to the vertebral column. The vertebral column has 4 curves, and we're going to move over to the skeleton real quick. That's the top portion of the skeleton there, without his head. And the top curve is the cervical curve. This section is a thoracic. And as we move lower into this section here, down below, this would be the lumbar, and down below is the sacral. The cervical spine consists of 7 bones. 2 main bones are the cervical atlas, C1, and C2 was the axis. The axis provides a pivot and a collar for the head of the atlas to rotate around the dens. And if I bring this down here, I can go ahead and demonstrate that. The dens is this pointy section here on the top, and if we place this on top here, that would allow that motion to happen. And then we have the thoracic vertebrae that I want to go ahead and provide a description of. The spineus process, which reminds me of a spina, which is a splinter in Spanish. So it's easy for me to remember. The transverse process, which is this section right in here, these little points here, and then right in inside is the foramen, and then you have the body, which is the rounded section right here, rounded section. And then when we discuss the lumbar vertebrae, we're going to go ahead and discuss the thoracic vertebrae first. The thoracic vertebrae consists of 12 bones, and that would be from this section to here, from here to here. And then the lumbar vertebrae consists of only 5 bones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would be these 5 bones here, all the way down to there, and from here to here. And then we have the sacrum, which consists of 5 to 6 fused bones. And last but not least is the coccyx, which would only be 1 bone. And then we'll move over to the sternum, and that's this top section right here. We'll move that back up. The mandibrium is this top section right here, and the body is this larger section right in here, and the sphenoid process is right here, this little point. And last but not least is the jugular notch. which I could basically place my pointer right here. You could feel a little notch there. And that's the end of my consultation. Thank you for my time, and I hope I didn't go over. Thank you so much.